I mean, they sell it to the person that's going to destroy it. They didn't think it was funny when we said eBay, huh?
You guys make a good secondary living off eBay?
And this is something I borrowed from Honeywell. The industry, the aerospace industry has come out with a document, AS 5553, that deals with counterfeit parts. And intended, it's intended for use by original equipment manufacturers. So it's been released. There's a lot of industry buzz about it right now. And Honeywell has gotten on board. Companies like Boeing, one of the authors of that document. Lockheed Martin has just released a document dedicated solely to counterfeit parts. Those are our two main customers. Sikorsky is getting on the bandwagon with this document, another big DoD customer.
Medical too.
Medical, NASA.
I had a fellow just came back from a big medical conference. He said the whole 2 days was about counterfeit.
This is
like
not
counterfeit knees, counterfeit injections.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, everything. They're counterfeiting. Anything that can be counterfeited is being counterfeited. And an organization adopting these policies, NASA, the MDA, DoD, and this is BAE, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Ball Aerospace. Honeywell, of course, has adopted the policy. Part of the problem that you get into with when you counterfeit parts and what enables counterfeit parts is whenever you start ordering products that are inside of lead time. What that means is, like I said before, if the supplier says it's going to take me 18 weeks to build this, and you need to get it in 3 weeks, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go out and search the web to find the parts. We had when we did the assessment up there, I did a review of the purchase orders at this facility, and I went from the Honeywell request for quote all the way down to the purchase orders for to the actual supplier that they bought the parts from. Reviewed the quote. They sent a quote. They told Honeywell that it would be 6 months ARO. So delivery was 6 months upon receipt of order. So that was in November. January, Honeywell places an order. Delivery date of April. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a minute. That's not 6 months. Of course, the company accepted the order. And right after they accepted the order, Honeywell went back and said, hey, how about pulling the delivery date into March? So we did an assessment. 30 to 50% of the purchase orders that went out for components went to brokers. And that's why we had counterfeit parts. Every one of the counterfeit parts that we identified were bought from brokers. So the secret is to this is, how do you avoid counterfeit parts? You either buy from the original manufacturer, or you buy from the manufacturer's franchised distributors.
Right.
And how do you do that? You go online and you go to that manufacturer, and they list their franchised distributors. The next thing you do is, if you do buy from a broker, let's say for an example you qualify a broker, make sure you get all the documentation to support that. And one of the things John and I found when we were looking at this stuff, we call and say, hey, we want to see your certificates of conformance. What did we get? We got a certificate of conformance that was signed by somebody at the broker. Nothing from the original manufacturer, which is another signal.
Will the original manufacturer's distributor give you the lead time that you're looking required?
No.
Okay.
Now, if they don't have it in stock,
Mhm.
no, they'll have to get it from the OEM. Sometimes you get lucky and yeah, they'll have them in stock.
Mhm.
But if they're sold out, or if it's a part that they only manufacture, some of these parts are only manufactured once a year. And if they run out, they run out until the next bill. So they won't necessarily always have them. Sometimes they do. This is what the brokers count on. The brokers count on several things. One of them is that right now there is no inspection requirements. Really, the DOD doesn't even flow down inspection requirements anymore. Medical industry has more stringent requirements than the DOD does right now. Now,
So there's
space,
no more, basically, there is no more receipt inspection anymore?
very little.
My God, I used to
Very
work
little.
right next to one.
Yeah. Carrie used to work in that area. They don't do a whole lot of inspection anymore. Nobody wants to pay for it. They don't have the resources.
The other thing that makes it a little more tricky is a big chunk of the parts aren't even made anymore that you want to order.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing I was going to get to also.
Yeah.
That adds to the problem, especially if you're working in the defense industry. You know, I've got some products that we built them, what, 20 years ago? We designed them and built them. We're still building them. We're still shipping them. The average, when I first started in the business, the average life cycle of an electronic component was about 10 years. Now it's about 2 and getting shorter. And back then, back when I first started though, defense industry drove the semiconductor market. Today, the computer industry drives the semiconductor market. And the computer industry, I mean, you look, this computer here, I just bought this weekend. I have another computer I bought 3 years ago. That's an obsolete computer. This is the good computer. I mean, you look, Intel has a what, an i2, i3, i4, i5, i6, i7. So I mean, they're obsoleting themselves as they move on, and that helps also because now you got parts that are no longer available in the general market. You go out there, you go out to buy them. Mostly, it's the brokers that are going to have them. And if you don't have a reputable broker, and you don't put in what we're referring to as a risk assessment plan, which basically is you go in and you make sure that those parts, and that's what we're getting into right now. The risk assessment plan on most of these parts would be, we're going to go out and we're going to, first off, we're going to go back and look at them and the markings, and we're going to say, do they make sense? Then we may send them to the manufacturer that's marked on the part and said, hey, are these your parts? We did that on one of the counterfeit parts that we worked on, and he come back and said, you know, we didn't build that part in that package that year. Matter of fact, we never built that part in that package. That's a clue. So it's you got to look at, does the part match? Does the marking match? And then you got to go back, and then you may have to do some testing. You may have to do some destructive analysis to go in and see look at the die markings, look at the lead packaging, and all that stuff to make sure it looks right. So really, what you're doing is you're going back into what we used to do back when I first got in this business. We used to do all of that. We used to make sure the parts were what they said they were.
Yeah.
But now we're only doing it if you buy from brokers. And that's one of the things that the company that we're dealing with, and I'm going to see in New York, didn't do. They didn't implement that risk mitigation, the risk of counterfeit parts.